Hello, welcome to our premiere edition of Coffee and Conversation with James and Melissa. I'm James.
And I'm Melissa.
And we're here to talk about ourselves, world, life, everything. That's what we talk about. It's our conversations we have off camera. We're going to let you in on a few of these on camera. We are here on JLJ Media, which is my network. We have over 35 shows. You can check those out however you want to. We have them on audio. So you go to audio, go to any streaming service like iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, Apple, and check out Coffee and Conversation with James and Melissa. Hit the little follow button or a like button, whatever it is, and follow us and see who we have. Because sometimes it's us, sometimes it's our friends. You don't know who may stop by. And then, of course, we're on video on my online network, JLJ Media, YouTube. So youtube.com, JLJ Media. There'll be a playlist that says Coffee and Conversation. Go ahead and hit that like over there. Or no, subscribe. That's what it's subscribe. It's down here somewhere. I never know where it is. It's a red button. It's like a triangle. It says subscribe in it. You can read, you can hit it. So do that. We're going to talk about today who we are and like why are we talking to you? Why should you listen to us? Why should you check us out? We have a lot of fun conversations. We're the same age. We know each other nearly 20 years. So Melissa, I was going to bring up kind of how we met. Well, not kind of the conditions where we met nearly 20 years ago at a YBAC conference, which it was Young Brokers and Agents. It's changed names now. I was back when it was IBA West, Insurance Brokers and Agents of the West, and I was working for a place called Insurance Skills Center, which is no more. I was not that young, but a little younger. But I remember for me, what I did for a living, I was the event management director for Insurance Skills Center. We ran conferences around the country for farm and ag. But once or twice a year, we would help the parent company, which was IBA West, help run their conferences. We weren't in charge. Me and my colleague, Nicholas Paris, would come on and just help Jill Tinner, who ran them, and the committee. That's how we came into the orbits of each other through that. And I want to tell you on my end of it, Melissa, it was always, running a conference is not easy, folks. Just tell you, if you're on the committee, whether you're on the committee or actually physically there, because the committee always helped us out with like stuff. Remember stuffing bags? Woo! Bag stuffing sessions. Also, there's a lot of work that goes into behind the scenes, pre-conference, even post-conference, during the conference, a lot going on. Do you remember it that way too? There's a lot of work that goes into these.
Oh yeah. You know, that's where I really learned the volunteerism means work your ass off for free.
Yes, basically. I mean, luckily I got paid to be there, but we weren't in charge. So my thing for Nicholas and I, we always came in as like the entertainment, like we're the entertainment. We were these two guys. We either had crazy hair or some kind of hair coloring or whatever. These two gay guys from San Francisco, beat bopping in, and we were very friendly, as you know. I mean, that's how I viewed us. You can tell me the other side of it. We always viewed ourselves as we came in to help Jill and the committee with whatever they wanted. We're here to help. We were very amenable. We're just like, what do you need to do? And we were two dudes who could walk fast, run fast, grab things. So we always felt like we were coming in to another space that was kind of related to us. But so I don't know, how did you view me? How did you view us when we would come in?
You were a godsend, because what I remember were first a couple things. So I was on the insurance side, and we were young agents, which at that time meant under 30.
Yes.
And I was on this committee, which happened haphazardly. I'll tell that story later, but I'm on this committee. And so I've not ever been to a conference. I don't have any understanding of what's going on. I remember Insurance Skills Center because the education piece interested me. And I did not expect you or Nicholas at all. Because when people think of insurance, let's be honest, it's a little boring.
Stuffy.
We're typically an insurance agent is the butt of the joke in a movie or a show, we're these annoying sales creatures. And then there were you two. And it was like this, it was an expansion of my idea about attending an insurance conference, that all kinds of folks are going to show up. We just happened to be in the insurance industry together. Clearly, you were so outgoing and friendly. I remember both of you knowing your business, being on time, no matter what was happening the night before, you were always on time. You were always prepared. And you were super supportive of us volunteers because we didn't really know your piece of it. And it was an important part of the programming during the day of all of these, continuing education seminars that were going on. And there was paperwork involved and introducing the speakers and the topics. And that was our job, is to be on time and introduce the speaker and collect the paperwork, pass it, So I just remember you being fun, knowing your stuff, and just being supportive, because I think you got it. Like, you got that we rolled up, like, what are we doing here? Oh, okay. I'll follow you. You sound like you know what you're talking about.
Well, so that, you had that correct, because we knew that we had to be the compass. We had to be Nick and I knew what our role was. Like, we just knew that our role was to get you on track, whatever that means. If it means, we pass these papers out, this is for CE, or this, or you go right to this room, this is where you're going to do. And like, didn't I encourage you or something before you had to speak or something? I can't remember if it was you or somebody else. I think I gave.
Oh, it was me. Well, yeah. I'm sure it was many of us.
Yeah, I'm sure. But
you and I had a moment, because I had realized that morning that I had to go into a classroom setting full of people and stand in front of everybody and introduce the speaker and the topic. Well, I was pretty young in my career at that time, and I was not comfortable.
Yes.
To put it lightly.
Yes.
Anxiety, right?
Yes.
Just washed over me. And I remember turning to you and I had said, James, I don't know that I can do this. I've not done it before. And you just put your hands on my shoulder and says, you got this. You said, you just go up there, you read the script, mm-hmm. and you got this. You can do this. And I went, okay.
If you say so, sure, say so.
And I did it, and it was horrible. But at the same time, it was, once you did it, it's not that bad. So you get better as the conference went on. But yeah, you were super encouraging and there for me in my moment of crisis.
So I remember that. I said, I remember that. And I'm sure I'm different, but I remember our session of me talking to you, a little pep talk. It's just because that was also my job, was like, okay, what do these people, what do they need? What do they need? I can be whatever. And Nick and I both are good at that. We could be whatever you need us to be, so to speak. If it's cheerleader, counselor, disciplinary, whatever you needed from us, we could fill the role. And I had known Nick at that point like 14 years. So we had been best friends. We had known each other a long time. So we had our own language also. We were divide and conquer. We were like Mr. Divide. You do this, I'll take this. It was like we had it down. And so I think those conversations were a lot of fun. And minus all the fun stuff that happened after things. That's a whole other story, of course. But no, you're right. We always showed up on. We didn't matter what. You know me. I was drinking and partying like everybody else. But we had a job. We knew we had a job to do. We knew we had to come in there and help them out. And so we would show. I had my alarm set. Everything was set. We would show up and with bells on and smiling and sometimes gritting through my teeth. And we would just kind of we would do it. And these were long hours, folks. Conferences.
Yeah.
They go on before the stuff starts and even after. And then. Oh yeah. There's a lot of networking, and even we were also networking too at the same time. People were like, it was our chance to see each other. Like we see each other, could be like this blue ribbon. There was Wyback, a couple other things where you finally got together. We could see each other. It wasn't very common for us to see each other all the time. We were in Northern California. You were in Southern. That was our chance to get together, go to dinners, go to this, go to that, then catch up. And you and I just became fast friends. Like we just completely. I don't even know why. I mean, I don't know why now, kind of. But I'm saying at the time, I don't even know why. I made a lot of friends during that time, and I'm still friends with today. But like for some reason, you and I we got pictures together, sitting next to each other. Like somehow we just connected right on.
Well, you're just for me, it was just you were fun and you're honest, and you're smart and you're a good friend. You can sense that about people, I think. But I think what drew me to you initially was just your sense of humor. Oh, yeah. You're so funny, naturally, just funny. And I like funny people because I'm not naturally funny. And I love a good joke. I can't tell one to save my life.
Yeah.
So, but I just remember that you were very approachable and you were open and you were funny.
Okay. Okay, good.
That was it for me anyway.
Good. Well, it's just fun. I've met so many people, as you did too, that I'm still friends with to this day, like my Jackson folks, Todd and Sherry and Derek Ross and Jeff Lang. I met somebody I still talk to today.
Jeff Lang.
That
Yes.
was that was my other man crush until the day I died. He knows it already. He already, that was already.
Well, he got me into that mess to begin with. He
yes,
did.
He did.
We have to. Yes, we'll reminisce about that sometime together. I'm
yes.
sure.
Yes, we will. But there's so I'm trying to tell people out there, the insurance industry, they knew how to party. They were not these stuffy, it was like these conferences were a little back then, especially. I don't know how it is anymore, but there were a lot. There was a lot of fun, and a lot of people tell me they have a lot of memories of me, and I have memories of them too. But it was a lot of fun, and it was one of those things where it was kind of like that all went down, and then the rest of the year you had friends. You had colleagues, and that was kind of like you could call them up for things, or when they called you, it was like, "Oh my God, hi, how are you?" Like it was always still a friendly atmosphere. That there was really nobody. I'm trying to think. Listen, I don't think there was anybody in the business that I didn't like when I was there. Like I didn't like. I mean, there are folks I wasn't the closest to, but I'm saying there wasn't anybody I really didn't like. I mean, I was happy to see everybody smile.
Say the same.
Yeah, I can't.
Well, I think back in the day, right? I think people were really excited to go to a conference. It's kind of different today, but when we were doing it, first you knew it was going to be a great party.
Yeah.
Right. The age group, we were all in the same industry. We had so much in common, and we could let our hair down.
Yeah.
And just really enjoy life. And there was a golf element to it, right? And there was the evening dinners, and then you had the parties, the after parties, the after parties.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So there was so much to look forward to. And then during the day, we were being professionals, right? You had classes and you had your continuing education and all that. And I think what part of Insurance Skills Centers did was they brought real content. So people were looking forward to these courses as opposed to just kind of being hungover and just sitting there.
Yes.
Earning credit. But I think that people looked forward to it. And it was a year after year after year thing.
We had really great instructors. I just want to say that. We had really great speakers and instructors. I mean, people who knew their shit.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm going to say the first curse word of the show. They knew their shit. They did. I mean, seriously. I mean, that's one thing I tell people all the time. I said, I learned a lot about the insurance business because I was around people, because I was on the education side. So I was around all these instructors who just, what they knew, like they knew it, and made it almost exciting. And it was like, I would learn this stuff going, I never even thought about that before. Like, oh, that's really interesting. I mean, so I just want to make sure I want to interject that we had some really good people.
Yeah, you did. I remember them very clearly.
Yeah. I mean, me too.
I remember two names distinctly. That if they were teaching it, you kind of were looking forward to rolling into.
Which ones were they? You can say them here.
Marjorie and Lori.
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say Marjorie Segali was my first thought. I mean, she's so good.
Yeah, she's really good. She's the kind that would sit down on the edge of the table and be like, okay, folks, we're going to have a real conversation now. And this is what you really need to know.
Yep, that's her.
And I remember Lori being more kind of authoritative, right? And she was going to drill down on insurance coverages and language and words have meaning kind of a thing. And so they were very different, their style. Yeah. But equally good at what they did.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. Yeah, Marjorie, she was like, okay, kids, here's the deal.
Yeah.
She would tell you the deal. But I just remember them both being they were so smart, and they did command presence.
Yes.
There was somebody, like you said, you weren't just, you were a little tired, you're trying to get coffee, you're trying to wake up a little, but they really were giving you stuff that you need to know. Like you needed to know this stuff. It was no joke. So I remember that too. I remember so we had some good content. We had some really good content. But those Ybacks, I mean, everybody was like, which Yback did you go to? Which one were you? I mean, it became like this badge of like, I went to one in Monterey, I went to one over this one. I went to, it's always, I was one in Las Vegas, and not Las Vegas, Las Vegas, and one in Palm Springs. And it's like, there's different ones that people are like, I didn't make it this one, I made this one, I didn't make this one, I made this one. And literally I have people that I know that say, I met you at this one, or I met you, this is when your hair was long, I met you at that one, or when your hair was short, I met you at that one. So it's like, we came every year with a different hairstyle, I'm sure. We look forward to it too. Just on our, if you guys didn't know, so on our end, Nick and I were always like, oh, we can have some fun. This is really fun. Again, we're not in charge, even though we kind of took charge, but we weren't in charge. It was like, we knew what to do. We're planners, we're event planners also. So we knew kind of what Jill would need. So we're just like, we're here to just place us. Do it. We get to go somewhere and have fun. And that it was always a fun time. It was always a fun time. But that's how we kind of met, folks. It's kind of how we met, became friends. And then we've stayed in touch over the years here and there. And then, of course, I came back to this whole world last year or so.
How did you get sucked back into this world, James? I've never left, so.
Yeah, I know you never left. It was Derek Ross. Derek Ross and I did an interview from my other shows because we stayed friends. And someone saw it. I was like, James Lott Jr. is still around? And what is he doing? Like, a lot of you guys know I left for LA and came down here. Some of you guys follow me and may see my stuff online. But I think some folks, the algorithms are weird too. It's like they just don't show everything unless you talk all the time. And I think a couple people were like, I always wonder what happened to him. I know he lived to LA, but I know what happened. And they started going down like we have another episode we do with a friend of ours. So they went down the rabbit hole and saw just Google James Lott Jr. Like, he does what? He does what? And the interview with Derek was really good. Derek and I have a chemistry where we've always been friends, and he's a very smart guy, and he's very community minded, which is what my show is about. Getting back to the community. So we really talked about that. We talked about our friendship, talked about that, and diversity. And it was a really good interview. Man, it was a really good interview. Again, I just reached out to him and said, do a show with me. And he did. And then it got the attention of the big eye of California. And then I was talking to David Benish, my buddy. We're like brothers. We still are pretty close. And he was like, we've always wanted to go into that space of the podcast world space. We just know how to do it, or where to go about it, or who to do it. And I said, there's me. And the pandemic just came at the right time. It came at the right time. Came at the right time. It's great. No, I'm joking, of course, folks, just joking. But it came at a time where I was creating my own network. And so people were paying me to have shows in my network. And so he's like, I'm sure I can get Clark. And Clark Payne and I, when I left on good terms with him. So we were great. And we always got Clark and I hit it off. This is a little side story. It was the twin thing. So we hit it off at the first agribusiness conference back in time. I checked him in and we started talking. We mentioned about the whole twin, and Melissa and I have the twin thing also. We all have a twin thing. But that's how we hit off at first. And I think they would say, Clark just likes how you're you. Like, you're just you. I mean, I know he was a big boss and everything. And I didn't care. I was just like, hi. And Jerry O'Kane, same thing. I'm just like, hey, I'm just myself. Again, I wasn't hired. I was hired just for the week to help out Nick. So I was like, I'm here to have some fun. I'm like, what's your name? What's going on? And I'm just laughing, talking. I think I had long hair. Who knows what's going on? And I just talked to them, and I hit it off with them. And Jerry and Clark both liked me a lot. And Nick needed help. And Lori, he goes, talk to Lori. And Lori's like, oh, I love you. She goes, we should. I'll talk to Clark. And it was a no-brainer. So I think, again, 12, 20 something years later, they go to Clark again and go, James Lott Jr. And apparently it made him smile, I guess, and was like, sure, if he could do this, I mean, well, we'll put him on payroll. And that's how I got back in the industry. I'm doing air quotes, folks. If you're listening, in the industry again. I mean, it's just funny. I mean, I left 12 years ago, Melissa.
I know.
I said, bye, everybody. I'm going, bye, bitches. I'm gone. I left. But it goes to show you should never count anything out. And so now I'm back with both my worlds merging together.
Yeah, it also shows us that, relationships live on. So even though your focus changed for a living, how you made your living, you still had connections, and it webbed back into your life years later, to where you and I are on our own podcast, having a great time.
Yes, and a great time.
Yeah, and it feels like no time had passed. Although I'm gray now when I wasn't.
I had great too. Me too. I'm like, I
But,
sleep like
clearly
like this.
relationships are everlasting. So I
Well,
think it's a great lesson to learn in life that you and I can reconnect after all of this time and still feel very connected because we shared a past together.
I agree with that, and I think, and then that's just it. Just goes to show that again, never say never. Never fully burn bridges. Should never do that. You never know what it may come to you. I mean, like literally, I got an opportunity to work with the big eye again in
Yeah,
a way that marries my style with what they need. You never know what use you could be to people later. So relationship is different. I'm not doing insurance. I'm not doing what, but I'm doing something that actually still helps them out and
right,
helps the big eye of
right.
California. So I mean, it's something that still is valuable, and I would never guess that. And then our friendship just got strengthened again
Mhm.
because of this, which is also valuable. Personal relationships are very important, especially as we get older. Very important. We're in our young 50s, but to get but no, but seriously, I'm learning. I'm like, I have a lot of acquaintances. I have a few friends,
Yeah.
but everyone I they're important to me. And so, and if I can collaborate with my friends on something like this, I love it. I mean, to me, it's the better.
Yeah, and me as well. It's funny in business. Um, I'm thinking back to when I started really developing my a client base, and I had this random call with a child of a parent business owner, and I was a child of a parent business owner, and so there were immediate connections made, and that individual is one of my dearest friends to this day, and that dates back to 1998. So yeah, so I was having this random sales call. I'll do air
Air
quotes
quotes too.
here.
Do air quotes.
Random sales call with somebody who became my brother. He's
Right.
he's near and dear to my heart. That's just the power of just opening yourself up and getting to know people. It doesn't always work out, but you and I are evidence that we had an affinity for each other. We had a great time together, and here we are years later on a
Yeah.
podcast together.
Yeah. No, it is amazing as I get older, seeing how relationships work. That's a great topic to go into a little bit. Relationships are very interesting because they're not. Some are evergreen, where they just last all the time. Some are good for the moment. They're good for
Right.
that time period. We've all had jobs where you're hot and heavy friends, you hang out together all the time, you're doing it together, and then, or you may all be friends during you all have small kids, then the kids grow up and you kind of separate, or the opposite. You're not, the kids go away, they become friends. There's all kinds of ways I'm watching these friendships move and ebb and flow. And I have one friend I talked to for 12 years. We saw each other at a Starbucks, and we're even closer now than before. So I just learned you never know. You just never know where life's going to take you. It really is. In some cases, it seems random, but it's not random. There's no coincidence. I mean, everything happens for a reason, I believe. But just that things are fluid. It's just kind of like you're in when you're in, you're out when you're out, you're in when you're in, and you're in when you're in. I mean, it's just kind of that's what it is. And so never count anybody out. I don't think never count a job out, a industry out now, a friendship out. You never know what it may come back into your life. It may come back on the road again. I mean, one of my actor friends always says, just stay on the road. Little turnoffs happen, but get back on the road. And you never know what's going to come. It's going to keep coming. As long as you're on the road, things pop up. That's how it
I happen to agree completely, and I think that kind of another analogy that I've heard growing up and do connect with is doors open and close all the time, but you keep walking through it. You keep walking through the door, and with relationships, I think that time changes everything around us, and so that has a direct effect, in how we see the world. And I think when you're young, at least for me, I know this was the case. I felt like, nothing was really that important. And I know I kind of went through my day more, with a selfish mindset. And as I grew up, that just started to naturally change. So I value my time and I value my friendships, and I don't really grade them. I just, it is what it is. Some are closer. One of my one of my closest connections to another female happened randomly in a networking environment, and we just connected over coffee. That's kind of like how you and I are doing right now. And we feel like we've known each other forever. We can't explain it, but this person is truly very important to me. We don't talk every day. In fact, we don't talk every week.
Right.
But when we talk, we're connected, like no time has passed. So I value that more so than needing to talk to somebody or having this regimented ideal of what a relationship looks and feels like. And I've learned that over the years.
Mike Scott, we both know, my buddy. We've been friends for nearly 20 years. Now he's the star of one of my biggest hit shows.
Oh, nice.
I mean, so it's about relationships. So he's always had a great voice. I mean, he's always.
Oh yeah. Well, we did voiceover work together.
Yes. So I know when he and I talked about that, actually, that was the whole thing. So I brought him, we got connected again. We always kept in touch, but we got reconnected again through this podcast and everything. And we started, I said, I want your voice on my shows. Yeah. So I wrote this show called The Email. It's a comedy, and it's 4 episodes. Okay. And it's about this coworker sending this email to the boss that he didn't mean to send. And it's great setup. I mean, I say myself, it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious. Mike Scott is one of the leads. There's only 4 characters in the whole show. Okay. And he's one of the 4 leads. And our premiere, it's an audio drama, folks. You can get on GLJ Media. The premiere was the highest premiere I had for any new show since my first one a year ago. Wow. And every episode, all 4 episodes were in the top 10 every week. And they did great numbers. So we're going to do a season 2. So I'm about to announce that actually later today. But it's just funny is that here's Mike Scott. I met through a YBAC conference 100 years ago. It's now on my network, the lead in a show that's a hit for me. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen.
You just don't. I mean, life is amazing that way. And that leads me to believe that we should invite Mike Scott to come on and have coffee and conversation with James and Melissa, because I'd love to see Mike. And okay. I think the last time I saw him was a couple years ago at an insurance conference, of course, because he does work those still. And I'd love to see him. I mean, I adore him. We go way back.
I know you do. I know he's the bomb. I love Mike, and he has twin girls. So speaking of twins, still twin connections.
Twin connection. Well, that's it. We have to have that. Come on, Mike. Come on to the show. Coffee and conversation. Let's do it.
I just wrote an invite Mike Scott. He'll come on. He's the bomb.
Congratulations on the show.
Thank you. No, it was a surprise. I mean, I think it's funny. I wrote it. No, I think it's funny. But when they came to life, the 4 actors, and it was 3 new actors because he's included, and one of my season I brought her on as Miss Jade. And I mean, critically acclaimed, people are commenting on it. They want to know what happens next season. They're already ready. And so, but it's the 4 of them together. His inflection, how he just did it perfectly. I mean, he's so good.
And that's a natural talent, right? I mean, he hasn't had training or anything that I'm aware of.
No, but he used to be a DJ, so that's one thing. So that kind of helps a little bit. That helps a little bit, but not a lot. But then I brought him onto another show just to fill in. They all loved him. He was so good. I mean, he's personal and again, a personal, friendly person. But again, it was through this whole networking again of 15, 20 years ago. We're all at a conference. You just don't know. You don't know what people are going to mean in your lives. And I think and for me, I've always chosen kindness. I've always chosen to be funny. I always choose. I'm not here to, it's not about judgment or anything. I don't care. Like, I'm just like, I like people. Let's get
When did you know you were funny, James?
I knew it's so funny. I knew that I had something for sure when I turned 30.
It was 30. Wow. Okay. I thought it would be younger.
No, it was funny. In high school and stuff, I was very popular. But I didn't care about that. I didn't care about being popular. I hated school. I just want to get through it. But I knew everybody. I knew that it helped me get out of situations. My humor, I get me out of situations. But in my 20s, I had lots of friends. I was a nucleus, a lot of things. But I really realized that at 30 years old, I have something that people like.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like an ego. They're just kind of like, I was more like looking at going, this is really interesting. 'Cause I'm like, people like being around me. I always got jobs I went for. I always moved up in every single job I moved up in. Happily, people were just like, we're happy to promote you, or whatever. I have a lot of friends. People want to be around me. I'm like, there's something there. I looked into that. I was like, there's something there. Like, what is that? And then I did a commercial in San Francisco for Travel Channel. Like I think it was called FNN back then or whatever. And the girl says, "You're a natural," and I didn't even. I was like, "Oh, that's
what does
okay."
that mean, right?
Yeah,
Like, okay.
Yeah, it was okay. But it was when I was 30 years old, I realized people like me. I mean, I know it sounds weird to say, but so it was just like, I was like, oh, I probably can use this for something. Like, not even a bad way, just like, this is something I can do. And that's when I started looking at my life a little differently. Like, what do I want to do next? Where do I want to go? And it was my late 30s when I really was like, yeah, I'm changing my whole life. That's when I did it. But I was like 30. I mean, but I look back on it, I was always the entertaining child. I was always the one who everybody seemed to like. All the kids liked me. I was very easy to get along with. I was very adventurous. I like playing. Because back in the day we had to play outside, folks.
I remember those back in the days. Yeah.
Yeah, you play outside. You play outside. So we play outside.
When the street lights came on, you had to go home.
Exactly.
Or you were in trouble.
Or you were in trouble. That's right. Or we played inside, when it would rain or whatever. And I always, would play teacher or play school, or I was always gathering people, the kids together to play games, or we play city. We make these little cities and on the blankets or whatever. But I was never bossy or just like, I was always like, let's have some fun. And Jamie was fun. Jamie would have a good time and we'd have fun. But it was my 30s when I realized that there's something there, and my voice was part of it. I have this deep voice that I found got me out of trouble and into trouble.
And into trouble, because you can hear you. I know when James is around because I can hear you before I see you.
Yes, it's very true. Yes, and my voice is booming, and it's me.
And it matches your booming personality. So in your 30s, so you hit 30 and you go, something about me is attractive to other people. And then what?
Because it wasn't my looks. Like, I know I'm a good looking guy, but I never used my looks for anything. And so it wasn't, and I didn't have the greatest bodies. Either I was skinny or I was big, or it was whatever. I didn't work out or anything like that. So I had friends who that was their lane. They got by their looks. You knew why folks were hanging out with them, or they had great bodies. You knew why they were hanging out with them. Or they were just funny. That was their thing. They were super the class clown sort of thing. So that's I was like, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm like not bad looking. I am athletic, but I'm also just like be funny. I'm smart. I'm these little things like. So what does that mean for me? Like what does that mean? And I started getting better jobs. That was the next step. It was kind of like, get out of retail, get out of food service. They're not really for you. You don't want to be a manager. And I started getting then my first job, of course. And actually the anniversary is coming up of this. 11. My first job that was better than the others was Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I was the switchboard operator in the cashiering department. I got the job a few months before 9/11 happened.
Oh.
And then 9/11 happened, and I mean, I have to say, for a work experience, and I had lost a cousin in 9/11. So I already had personal connection to it. And New York was my family. I had a whole personal connection. Been in the World Trade Center, been in the windows of a restaurant. We lost our whole office. So in the World Trade Center. So that was one of the strangest times in my career ever, because we were trying to navigate that. We were like, people I talked to every day were dead. And it was a strange, the core, we were getting mail still that was en route to California from a dead person. It was one, I'm gonna write a book about it one day. I want to write it because it was because not just, I mean, it's incredibly sad. Yeah, I get that part, but it's also psychologically interesting what we went through that day and the 3 or 4 months afterwards. Just like, people going, where's my broker? I can't find my broker. You're like, they're not here. They're not here. And that was a strange time. But that was my first gig of getting something that was just a little bigger than retail food service, whatever. And then after that, I got Insurance Skill Center. Right after that, and then I said I'll come on to help out Nicholas. It was a 3-month. I feel like it was what was it, Gilligan's Island? It was a 3-hour tour. It was a 3-month. I was gonna stay till August, and then I was gonna leave and go and come back to LA. Actually, I was gonna move. A lot of people don't know this. I was gonna move back to LA then. So 20 years ago, I was gonna go back to LA, but then I came on. I saw Nick really needed help. I actually kind of liked the job. Even though Jerry O'Kane kept calling me Thomas. This is our big joke to this day.
You don't look like a Thomas to me.
No, but he kept thinking my name was Thomas. I thought it was a joke. I thought he was just like this because he would walk. We had to be in his office. He'd walk by Thomas. I go, Mr. O'Kane, all the time. Then 4 months in, he goes, your name ain't Thomas. I go, no, my name has never been Thomas. My name is James. He goes, why do you tell me? I thought you were joking. So from then on, he called me Thomas. That was always the thing. That's always our thing. Thomas, Mr. O'Kane. That became our joke. But I liked the job, and I ended up staying. I moved in with Nick and David. I stayed with them, and we had a great time until I left in 2009. But it was more like I realized I wanted something bigger than what I was allowing myself to do. I was allowing myself to do these same jobs that were comfortable for me.
Right. I get that.
They're comfortable. I know I can go into a retail store and run it. I know I can go into a food service place and run it. I know I can do a record store and run it. It was all just kind of, and I made some good money. Some of the jobs I did are okay. I mean, I was in San Francisco. It was very expensive. But I made it happen. I was fine. I'm good with money. That's my Taurus nature. I like money. But there was but I wasn't challenged. It wasn't challenged. So if people like me, and I am smart, and I have some stuff behind me, then I should probably go for something different. So Morgan Stanley was first, and then Insurance Skill Center, and that's when that was, and that led me to here where I'm doing now. I feel like both those, taking that attitude led me to go, I'm going to Hollywood.
Yeah. And here you are.
And here I is in Hollywood, well, in Inglewood, but Hollywood now there's that way. Hollywood is that way.
That way.
That way. You're that way for me. I'm facing this way. You're over there.
Yes, I am.
You're over there. Yes, you're northeast of me. But yeah, but it was more of just a kind of because I'm a very practical person. I'm like, what can I do to get myself? I mean, I'm known in the industry here as the biggest self-promoter on earth. I mean, I will promote the F out of myself. I do. I find what strength I have and I will push it out because I just feel like, if you're not your only biggest cheerleader, I mean, I know what my strengths are. I know what my weaknesses are. I know what I do well. I know what I have to learn. I know I never purport to be anything that I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've known that about me for years. I am this, and I know what I know. What I don't know, I don't know.
Right. And that's a strength, being able to walk into a room and go, this is what I'm good at. I don't so much know this. I'm willing to learn. But I think that for career development and even relationship development, knowing your strengths and weaknesses is kind of a core thing to communicating effectively with others, and so I've tried to be better at acknowledging, that's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And being okay with it, as opposed to, needing to be good at everything. You don't need to be good at everything. You should be good at some things,
well,
hopefully.
Sure.
But, and also being supportive of other people.
Well, my thing is, it's a great point you just made up. Not made up, but just point you made. She didn't make it up, folks. It's true. No, I agree with the fact that there are people who their job is blank. Go to them.
Yes.
That's what they know. It's no shame in saying, I'm not good at technology. I'll find somebody who's good at technology. That's what you do. And that's what their job is. I'm not a plumber.
Yeah.
I have a good plumber. I'm not an electrician. But to me, we have to get out of the ego of, I got to know everything and be perfect at everything. No, not at all. I mean, to me, there are people who are good at that. And like you said, and be okay. I don't know that. I don't know that. I'm smart enough to go to them.
Right.
That shows your smarts. When you go to somebody who knows, like we said, building a team. I have people who are smarter than I am who do things. I'm like, great. I don't care if you're smarter than I am. you make me look good, then I don't care about that. That's fine. That's fine with me. You know a little more than I do about this subject. I have no ego on that. That's no problem. And that's getting older too. I think getting older, we just like care less.
And we could talk honestly about that because we have aged during the same periods of time.
Yeah.
Right into our early 50s,
Early,
our air quotations, folks,
young 50s.
our early 50s. And it, you know, I'm so grateful to be here.
Me too.
You know, and I think that that's another thing about relationships, going back to the conversation about relationships is, you know, being grateful for our connection without needing to shape it, possess it, you know, whatever. I just so enjoy our time together. And I have, you know, it's funny. I thought to myself, after our first recording, I thought, God, I have missed him. Isn't that crazy? All this time had passed by.
Yeah.
We're reconnected. And I thought, I have missed James. Yes. You don't even know it. You don't even know.
No.
You forget.
No.
You know, and I remember that after we signed off and Zoom was shut down and everything. Oh, God, I've missed him.
Well, I smiled. I was smiling. I was like, oh yeah, like I like that. I love her. She's great. And I look forward to each Monday we get together. That's the impetus of the show. That we're working on some other stuff, actual business stuff too, working on. But like, so this podcast came out of that. Yes. Which again, you just never know, right? And I kept thinking every Monday I'm looking forward to our 8:30 phone call. And when they don't happen, like something happens to me or you, we're like, oh my God.
I know. Oh, I'm gonna miss James.
Yeah, we get it. So we were rescheduling a little bit. We've been trying to keep together, but it's one of those things where, I was smiling. So I was like, oh yeah. But again, you don't know this really in a weird way. You're just kind of living your life, and then you go, oh, that was kind of missing, or that's a great addition back to my life. Yes, it's a great addition back. That's what it is. I'm like, you know, and I know we get older, and you just kind of I appreciate things a lot more. And I see, for me, I'm the opposite of you. You had mentioned earlier how the way you were kind of coming up as an adult. For me, I was already raising children, so I was very serious when I was young. Everything I have journals that I wrote back then. Oh, painfully emo, painfully just dramatic. I'm like, James Lott Jr. Let me talk to 22-year-old James Lott Jr. Let me talk to 25-year-old. Like, oh, I'm embarrassed to read the journals. They're so serious. I've lightened up as I gotten older. I've lightened up. I don't give two F's anymore half time. I don't care. I'm like, that's fine. You do you, I'll do me. We'll see if we can meet in the middle somewhere. That's literally how I'm glad I've lightened up. Even though we know how hard life can be. I mean, trust me, 3 years ago, at this time 3 years ago, I was laying in bed, my face paralyzed. I know how hard life can be. It can be tough. But you have to find a perspective somehow of
what was yours? Because you said you were so serious into your early 20s. What happened to help you to lighten up?
I feel like it's age. I feel like literally I survived a bunch of things. I kept surviving them.
Right.
And I became more comfortable in my skin.
Yes.
Because I did a lot of therapy. No shame with that. Therapy is fine. And just living. I really feel like just living and surviving stuff. And getting better jobs, and the kids getting older, and just kind of like all the stuff started happening at the same time. It was like, you know what? I'm gonna be okay. Literally, I just remember one day thinking to myself, I'm a survivor. I survive things. I'm a thriver. I have great jobs. I have good friends. I mean, I started really looking around. Again, around my 30s. It was around my 30s. I started really hitting that. And I remember I was in a lot of debt. When I turned 30, I was in a lot of debt. I mean, for me, it was a lot. It was like $20,000, whatever. But for a lot of people, it's not a lot. But for me, it was. I took my mom's advice and said, she goes, James, pay it off in your 30s. Start fresh in your 40s. She told me that. And I did. And I got better jobs so I could pay down. And David and Nick were so great about it. They were like, we don't want all your money. Just pay this much for your part of the rent and utilities, but pay down your bills. And I did. Over the course of 8 years, I paid everything off. I have no debt. To this day, I don't have any debt. So it's like I just started going, I'm surviving stuff. I'm okay. I'm going to make it. Everything is fine. So I started caring less about what people think. I stopped people pleasing. I stopped a lot of these, it just kind of naturally went along. It was like, well, no, I don't need you. Like, screw you, I don't need you. Dating situations, everything. I started learning that I'm okay. I'm doing okay, and ups and downs are going to happen. And I will survive them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I became a lot more careless in a great way. Not careless in like a bad, but careless that I just don't, it doesn't matter. We all go through stuff. Everybody
Yeah.
goes through something. And it's just kind of like, I'm not alone. I learned.
That's a great message. I think that's a great message for all of us because it's, it's a reminder. You talked about being comfortable in your own skin. That's hard for a lot of us. It really is hard for a lot of us. And I've struggled with weight issues my entire life. I come by it naturally.
Me too.
And I'll never forget something that my sister said to me, and I didn't even realize, I didn't connect it until she said it. She said, I admire that you live your life and you don't let weight or anything else stop you from doing things. And at that moment, I looked at her and I thought, I didn't think about it. But I think for me, there was a conscious decision in my maybe mid 20s where it dawned on me how life can be really short. And I wanted to accomplish things and I wanted to experience things and I wanted to know people and I wanted to go places. So the fact that I didn't feel good, the fact that I felt, chubby in my pants, I had a pimple on my chin, not like all of a sudden, all of that just melted away for me. And that was freedom. That was my freedom to go and live life. And I didn't even know I had made it until my sister had said that to me at an insurance. I was being installed on the local insurance association board, IBA SFB.
Oh yeah.
And she came up to me after that and she said, I admire you. Well, I don't know that she used those words, but it was admiration that she was sharing her observation of like, wow, that's really cool that you can, do all these things and not care.
Yeah, my brother said it to me about recently. He said, it's something you say with a sibling. My brother who lives with me, JR, said it recently. He goes, I don't say this. I'm really proud of you. You started from scratch and like really made your way. And it's funny when a sibling or family member says it to you because it's a different meaning than a friend or a colleague or a magazine. We've all been in magazine stuff. It's different. But when someone close to you, whether you're close or not, just said still close family wise, my brother said to me, I was like, oh, I said, thank you. He's like, no, he goes, no, but you really I was looking at your stuff. Like you have an empire. Like, our friend said on another show we did, you have this empire. I know you did it yourself. And you're in this room and you're creating and you're making time to do it. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing because I do it every day. I know what I'm doing. But to see someone else actually view you a certain way, that sometimes is the wake up call for ourselves to go, oh, they're showing us, they're actually mirroring back to us what we are.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for us to go, oh yeah, I see it. You're right. I am good. I'm listening. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not letting anything stop me because, we don't always think that way when we're walking through life. And we're just like walking through life, trying to get through it.
Yeah. Head down, kind of, doing your thing. And so I think that positive affirmation from family and friends is really, really valuable. And I think that I know I'm guilty of this. I don't do it enough. I don't take note of and I take note, but sometimes I don't verbalize it or share, my thoughts or my feelings. So I think I'm going to work on that. I think from this talk, it showed me that maybe when you recognize that somebody's doing or on a right path, or they're into something really cool and interesting, just say, hey, that's really cool and interesting. Good for you.
I like that. See, this podcast is changing you already. I love it. No, because I do. I'm Mr. Always like, great job on that. I saw what you did yesterday. And it's funny because some folks can't take compliments. That's where that uncomfortability comes, what you said about earlier, being uncomfortable in your skin. I'll give a good compliment. They're like, thank you. I'm like, no, I'm giving you a compliment. It's really good that you did. They're like, so I always make sure I tell people when I see something they're doing, that's amazing. That's great. Good job. Or, good luck on that. I mean, I think it's something that we should, we're the village, not the village people, the village in the Navy, we're the village, and the village always should lift each other up on some level. I believe in that wholeheartedly. I just think that's the kind of thing. You tell somebody, great job, or I see what you're doing. At least like show them I see what you're doing. I mean, I understand it, but I see what you're doing. There are people who do things I'm like, I don't know what that means, but good for you. It sounds good. Okay. I have friends who are into wrestling. I'm like, I don't know all the wrestling. So I'm like, okay, you interviewed so-and-so, great. Okay, that's somebody that's big. I mean, I understand getting a good get, so I understand what that means. So good. Okay, good for you. But it's just somebody, my Aunt Faith always says this. You never know who you'll make smile.
Yeah.
We always think the opposite. We always think who you'll offend or who this. But you just never know. Some action of yours that may seem small and minuscule, you never know, may change and brighten someone's day where they really needed it.
Yeah.
And I love that.
True.
I love that. I love that. I thought that's really interesting. And I never thought of it that way. It's because, you just never know who makes smile. You just never know.
Yeah.
But going back to getting older, I've lost a lot of people in my life. So I think that's part of also that changed my tone.
Sure.
I have no grandparents, no uncles and aunts on one side of my family. I mean, they're all gone. My brother died. I have a brother who died. So, there's things that I've just, my dog died, whatever. There are things that I've learned also life really is short.
Mm-hmm.
You said it earlier, and it really it goes by in an instant. There are times I can't believe I'm 52 years old. I'm like, I'm 52. Like, am I 52? Like, I'm like, I don't feel it sometimes. I don't know how you are, but there are times I feel like just James. I don't feel an age at all.
Totally relate. I don't feel my age. I do feel it in my lower back, though. I must be honest.
And there's places where I feel it too. Yes.
I think, though, I've always been young, youthful. I know I come off very serious, and I am, I lean to the serious, but I'm very playful. I'm very curious. I like to, cause a little trouble every now and again. As I've gotten older, less trouble.
Yes, me too. Right, less trouble. Yes.
But I think it's heart and mind balance, and you have to stay just, open to life, and I think one of the most important lessons is show up. And I don't mean that corny. I mean, literally show up. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what kind of experience you're going to have. Mostly it's going to be positive. And that's kind of how I approach life. Even if it makes me uncomfortable, I'm still going to show up and just see what happens.
You have to. I think the thing for me, people ask me how I have those experiences, and that literally is what it is, showing up. It's kind of like it's saying yes. That's always a good thing too. Even when you're not sure sometimes.
Yeah.
It's good to say no. There's times it's good to say no, and no is a great word. But I'm saying, but sometimes just saying yes, I'll be there. Yes, I'll show up. Yes, I'll come to it. Yes, I'll try this. You never ever know where it's going to go, and most of my experiences have been that I'm going to try it. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think what I've also learned is once you said the yes, it's a real commitment. Yeah. And if you think about like the simple thing of a party, somebody has planned on you being there. They've bought food and drink and everything else around you attending. And so not attending will affect somebody, and not in a nice way. So because I come from a background of social anxiety, and it's easy to say yes because the idea of it sounds great, but the closer something gets, you kind of get a little, maybe I don't want to go, and you start working through these different ideas about not going.
Yeah.
I'm tired, I'm not in the mood, something like that. And I think you got to break through all of that and just show up. And most of the time you're going to have fun.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. Most of the time it's going to be fine, and life will go on. And you never know what connection you'll make. You never know what will come out of something.
You'll never know what great wine you taste or what delicious food you might sample.
Well, see, for me, what's funny is, again, through Insurance Skills Center, I was friends with Sharon Spray, who was in Insurance Skills Center. She's now Sharon Fuller. We're still friends. We actually got together a few weeks ago. She was working, so she worked at the office down in LA, down in Huntington Beach. So she invited me to her birthday party. And I flew down from San Francisco, went to the Magic Castle, and I was sitting next to a director. And she kept saying, James, you should be on television. And that's how, because I said yes to coming to LA to see my friend for her thing, literally led me here.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a direct line, but it was the saying yes and going, she felt I was important enough to invite me, but she felt like I was somebody in her circle. She wanted to come because it wasn't a big. It was like 7 of us, and she wanted me to come. She wanted to include me. And I thought, okay, and so me and my friend Michelle, we both came and we had a great time. But it was like I connected with a person who was on the hit TV show House that was big at the time.
Loved House.
Well, she got me on it. And that started everything.
Started everything. That launched your career.
I launched my career back in 2007.
Wow.
And that's what started it. But if I hadn't said yes, if I had said, yeah, it's okay, or no, I don't want to do it. I mean, who knows where I would have been. But it's just so important.
That's a great story. That's a great connector.
Yeah, great connector. It is. Just gotta say yes and do it. I mean, you gotta do it.
So that's it. That's the motto of the first show.
Yes. And
right?
we're doing it. And we're doing it now. We said
just say yes. We did it. You and I. We just said yes. Let's do it.
Yes, I'm right down. For the thing.
That's the word of the show. Yes. Yeah.
We'll end it here. That's what I say. Just say yes. Life is very interesting. Yes, it is. But it can be really fun if you stay open to the universe. I really do believe that. I think if you stay open to the universe, you never know what fun things can come your direction, what meaningful friendships will come out of that, what connections you'll make. There you go.
And where you'll go.
And where to go. I'm James.
And I'm Melissa.
This is Coffee and Conversation with James and Melissa here on JLJ Media. Thanks for listening and watching our first episode. We have many more to come, hopefully, and it's been a lot of fun. And everyone, get with your friends. That's what I say. Get with your friends. Say, call one of them. Say hello. I'll text them or something. Say hello to them. Go have some coffee and conversation with them too. And we'll see you next time.